All of this gold comes from a wash plant. That's right, today we're doing a cleanup from an actual mining operation, and we're going to see just how much gold we can get in one bucket from an operation that uses wash plants. There is more gold in this bucket than most prospectors dig up in an entire year. I can't tell you where it was found, I can't tell you who dug it up. I can't tell you about their operation, and I certainly don't want to break the trust of the people who took me across their entire mine site and showed me how they do it. What I can tell you is this gold is from a claim and it's local, and this is part of one of their cleanups. All the gold's going to be returned to them at the end of this video, but we get to experience what it's like doing a cleanup from a real mine. This here is what some of the concentrates look like. You'll notice that there is no large rock in it, and that is because 99% of all the gold is extremely fine. Wow, that dog is going ham. Have you got an opinion about whatever he's talking about? I'm going to call that dog Spud. While Spud lets the other dogs in your house know what's going on in our neighborhood, I'm going to tell you and Spud about their concentrates. They're currently working a layer that dates between 6 and 12,000 years old. It is original untouched ground that no one has ever mined before. And the reason this material is so fine is because it comes from a glacier. Oh, I can already see it. That there is about 6 tablespoons worth of concentrates, and that is the kind of gold that's coming out of it. Now, I've been told they do occasionally find nuggets, but they are exceedingly rare compared to the fine flour gold. The surface of gold is hydrophobic. It means it actively tries to repel water away from itself. And when it comes in contact with the surface tension in any water body like this, it can cause a situation where the gold wants to skip up onto that surface tension and be taken away by the water. And for that we need a surfactant. Them some big words, Fernie. If you're using a sluice box that utilizes some sort of rubber matting, you really need to make sure that there are no air bubbles like that one in the mat. Those air bubbles prevent gold from sinking into your capture cells. And given that we're using a tiny sluice box to clean up gold just like that, I'm thinking we're going to need every little bit of surface area we have to get it all. Are you ready? That's what we're working with. Every single teaspoon of this that I've done is absolutely chockers with gold. I don't know how it's going to run down such a tiny sluice box, considering that normally they would be using much bigger gear. But I am an amateur prospector who dabbles in a little bit of mining every now and again, and this is a full-scale setup. And I've got cons from a full-scale setup, so I'm kind of out of my depth, I guess. But in the famous words of Jeremy Clarkson, how hard could it be? Well, we're about to find out. The worst case scenario is it's going to end up in my tailings and back with them anyway. Oh, you should see. Look at the gold. Yeah, we've got serious migration. That is, I don't know if that's just too much water, maybe? But I gotta get the black sands moving, so we have got a little bit of movement in those cells. What happens if I put more? What if I put more power into it? Well, there we go. I saw a noticeable difference. Never ever be afraid to experiment with your equipment, especially at home, because it's only ever going to end up, well, there. It's not like the creek. Now, I've learnt my lesson. We're going to dump it into the sluice box, not on that lip. I have never, ever, once in my life, seen that. I haven't even done a tenth of that bucket, and I have literally filled the sluice box full of gold. That is a problem I can't keep running that. I've got to clean that out. You can see it in the tailings all just piling up in the center there. I need a different setup to do this. And just look, you get a single teaspoon, you put it in, goes black for a second, and then it just starts turning gold. This is a problem. This is actually a problem, because to clean this properly I need to get a different sluice box out here. There is a reason that professional mining outfits use shaker tables. Shaker tables don't rely on having a capture system within them. Instead, they simply separate the material out from each other based on density and collect it in a cup at the end of the table. That means a shaker table has unlimited capacity to collect gold. Whereas a sluice box has a limited capacity. As soon as you fill up your capture zones, you gotta empty it.
There is now more gold down there than probably what I got in my last clean out. I know from experience, if I fill these cells up at the top, I'm probably going to get 4 grams. So there's probably 8 grams, maybe 10 grams of gold in that mat right now. The problem is that this sluice box is too short. The gold's so fine that it needs time to settle out as it goes down the mat. And it's starting to settle out at the halfway mark, and it's not got enough time to settle into the rest of the mat. So it needs to be wider, it needs to be longer. This is designed for the hobbyist and not someone who's working a 6,000-year-old untouched virgin gold pay layer with a proper mine site operation, as opposed to a shovel and a pan like this plebeian. Oh my freaking god. Bro. I don't even know what to say about that. That is terrifying, the amount of gold that is in that bucket right now. There is a really large part of me that's going to be very happy to have this out of my house and back with the people that have proper safes and stuff. That is more gold in a couple of teaspoons than I have got in weeks of prospecting out in the gold field. I need a bigger sluice box and like bigger equipment and a mining lease. That's what I need. The other thing that I have to do is put all the tailings, which are not tailings. At this point, they're still very much concentrates, back in the bucket and rerun them. We've slightly upgraded. We have now far more capacity to absorb gold. And I'm telling you right now, it won't be enough. But we've also added a gradient of difficulty for the gold to escape. It means that there's now more friction in every bay. So every third of the sluice offers a different level of friction, hopefully preventing gold from migrating out. And these cells have a lot of capacity to take gold. So even if I fill these cells with gold, we know we're getting a lot more than what we would be getting out of that. I am absolutely running out of daylight too. The best way to get rid of bubbles is using a bristled brush. And let's just try this all over again. This is not my gold. I had to give all of this back at the end of the video, and just in the same way that these gold miners help support my channel by giving me content just like this, you can help support my channel by jumping over to my website and checking out the Old Moldy. The Old Moldy is an eclectic mix of all the stuff I find gold prospecting, including pay dirt, which will allow you to pan for real gold at home. I also sell crystals, gold nuggets, and t-shirts. Rumour has it there's also a beard comb. And if you don't want to spend any money, the easiest way you can support a creator for free is dropping a like and a comment. And for all your long-term subscribers, make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube be unsubscribing people. Even with that increased capacity, I've used it. I've used the increased capacity already. That's what stripped down onto my hand. Just curious to know if I'm catching gold or not. Oh, I am. That's just what was on my hand. My tailings catch pan is absolutely full, and the sluice also looks like it's kind of full of gold. There's part of me that wants to just keep running it so I can get piles of gold like that the whole way down. But the responsible part of me is like, no man, you should probably clean that out, eh bro? Brother, that's enough gold in that sluice. I haven't got words. I'm speechless for once in my life. I don't know how much gold is in there. He said that there should be over an ounce, or about an ounce. He said there should be about an ounce in this box. Oh, this sluice is heavy. I gotta get a photo of that. Ultimately, I was not sure how much gold I was going to recover. It's a bit of a guessing game, gold mining. What I knew for sure was that this was more gold than I had ever had to clean up in one single sitting in my entire life. This is utterly ridiculous. What the actual f***? That is insane. How many buckets are there of this stuff? We're about, I would say, halfway. This is just what you saw out of the bigger sluice, and this is a big pan, like that size of my hand compared to this pan. This is a massive pan. It's bigger than a Garrett Super Sluice. Oh my god, That's just... I don't know what to say. That's just nuts. That's thick too. That's not a thin layer of gold.
2 different sluice setups and 2 entirely different runs later, and I was finally able to say that I was about halfway through the dirt, but I still had to rerun all of the tailings and get through the rest of it. So the next day I went and shot a cannon, and then got back to work.
It is day 2 of trying to do this, and I want... It is day 2 of trying to do this, and I want... It is day 2 of trying to get through these concentrates, and once again, I am running out of daylight because my timing is impeccable. Look, if I'm being honest, I was out shooting cannons. That is not a joke or a euphemism, I was actually out shooting cannons, and I think that takes precedence sometimes. To catch you up, I have rerun all the tailings. This is the gold that I managed to get out of the tailings. There is a reasonably significant amount of it, even though it's been passed through 3 times. My spoon's still here. The gold should be just as good. And we've got the little cleanup sluice by Gold Rat all ready. And yep, straight away, line of gold. Last night I shared some pictures on my social media accounts of this going through the sluice box, and people were pretty impressed. And they should be, because this is just a ridiculous kind of concentrate. I'm certainly still not over the shock of just how much gold is coming out of these concentrates. It's something else. The chance for a hobby miner like myself to be able to process concentrates that are giving us that kind of gold is exceptionally rare. Down to just the last few dregs in the bucket. Oh, there's a ribbon of gold that just came out of that. We didn't run nearly as much material this time, but it is still looking magic. That's about 1/4 of what I had left. I still got to rerun these tailings. But the next part for us is hand panning out the gold, because even though we've used the sluice box to clean most of it up, there's still going to be a fair amount of black sand and sand mixed in with that gold. That's what's left of the second run. Let's give it a flick back and see just how much of that yellow stuff is hiding underneath the black sand. Fine gold like this, no matter how much surfactant you use, usually ends up floating away on you as soon as it gets pure. So the more of just the gold that we have, the more likely it is that it's going to float on us. The black sand actually creates friction and allows it to sink properly. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Remember, this is ancient glacial till. That's why the gold is so fine. So to get any kind of coarse bit like that just there is phenomenally good. Phenomenally. Is that even a word? I don't know. I'm sure the English professors will come out. But they don't have that much gold. The goal here is just to suck up the majority of the gold before doing fine cleaning. Because once you get most of the gold out of the way, it becomes a lot easier to manage all the stuff that's mixed in with the black sand. If you're trying to get it all at the top, you're going to fail. Like, you're just going to fail. Because it will float on you. I've not had the problem of having to do multiple passes with a snuffer bottle just to suck up only the gold before, which is a problem I could maybe not get used to, but I'd like to have that problem. It's going to reduce some of the white sands off the top. The white sands are extremely light, so we can get rid of them into our tailings pile here. And you already start seeing gold coming out through the black sand there. Without mercury, I am not going to be able to recover that. That is very much stuck in that white sand there. So we're going to return it to the tailings and rerun it. But this is our second run. I'm going to have to add it to the first run. I think there's a prospector in the world that would argue that this is not a good day. Run 1, run 2. I ran more dirt out of run 1, so that's why we've got more gold in it. Whereas run 2, we still got a significant amount, but that was only about 1/4 of a bucket. And now we shall add them together. I would absolutely love to be able to put a guess on how much gold is in here right now. I'm thinking...
Let me just pause you there, past Chris. I learnt in this moment editing that I'm a really bad guesser.
It's over the ounce. Before I get that on the scales, I want to express a massive thank you to the people who allowed me out onto the mine site to see their operation, and also to get to experience this. This is incredibly unique, and I'm eternally grateful for it. Now, I don't know. They said they average between 25 and 27 grams a bucket. I would like to think that this is an ounce. I would really like to think it's an ounce, but... you know, the balance of probabilities, it's probably in the mid 20 grams somewhere. We're going to find out. Leave your guess in the comments below. That's about half of it. Well, we're at 8.4. Yeah, okay. Not as much as I thought there was. 13.31. Really? That looked like a lot more. That's the main recovery done. But I'm thinking there's probably more in the tailings. I'm going to have to go back and rerun them.